Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. Now as promised, we have brought yet another Black Clover video.
Shut the fuck up.
You guys absolutely smashed the 50,000 like goal, and you made that look easy, surpassing your limits, sharing your mana.
I appreciate you. You loyal.
So I'm returning the favor, providing you Black Clover content whilst the manga is on hiatus. So remember, make sure to hit the notification bell. This video is a follow-up to our previous two regarding the huge plot twist of Lucius and Astaroth the Time Devil actually being within Julius the Wizard King. The big questions on all your minds are the following. Number 1, how did Lucius take Julius's body? Number 2, what is Lucius's plan with Astaroth and gaining Lucifero's heart? Number 3, how did Astaroth leave hell? Well, luckily for you, we have the answer to all of these questions. Yes, guys, we got this shit, bruh. I'm so excited. And when I say we, I mean Jonathan, aka J Cloud, is joining us on this collaboration. I recommend checking out his channel. I want to help our community grow stronger. So we got in a call, discussed all our ideas regarding Black Clover's writing, and we're pretty confident we came to a solid conclusion that makes sense.
Hell, it's about time.
Now, in order for us to answer the questions we all have, we have to apply the idea that Lucius Zogratis has soul magic, as there is significant evidence for this. On top of that, we must talk about Lucius and the Dark Triad's plan for humanity. In chapter 310 in Zenon's flashback, we learnt from Lucius Zogratis that he wants to create a truly peaceful Spade Kingdom. He tries to convince his brother Zenon on his ideological plan, but it fails in the first try, as Zenon wants to work hard to defend the kingdom, becoming the strongest magic knight of the Spade Kingdom, similar to the route that Yuno is taking in the Clover Kingdom. However, Lucius later manipulates Zenon by killing his best friend Alan and forcing him to realize that his brother's idea is absolute, that power is required to save the weak. Nothing else matters in the world. Lucius Zogratis believes that the weak die easily and that it will not be possible to protect them all, so they must destroy them temporarily and regenerate them with undying bodies. A reoccurring phrase, by the way, that Tabata used for the title in chapter 278, with the Dark Triad in a puddle that comes across as the River Styx. The River Styx is of course a river in the underworld where the gift of immortality is bestowed upon those whose bodies are dipped into it. One famous example is when Thetis, the demigod Achilles' mother, dipped him into the river by his heel. This ensured that he could only be hurt at his heel, which Apollo exploited, and it eventually gave rise to the expression Achilles' heel. Back in chapter 310, Lucius goes on to say that us four, the Zogratis siblings with the devil's power, can use our magic to remake humanity. Now you're probably confused, like what does he mean? Well, to me this makes a lot of sense, given the fact that Varnica has blood magic, Zenon with bone magic, and Dante with body magic. They all have the magic type that's connected to the human anatomy. It's even crazier once you think about the dark disciples that Varnica brought with her. These dark disciples that were at the Heart Kingdom, they had 50% devil power. All of them had some sort of body part type of magic, which cannot be a coincidence. We learned from Dante in chapter 257 that the devil's power increases his ability to regenerate with his body magic, to the point that he can't deteriorate, he can't age, or won't die. Unless, you know, you're the main protagonist of a shonen, you have a big black sword, an anti-magic sword, mind you, and yeah, then the guy would definitely die to that.
It's facts! It's facts!
not facts. These facts are not facts.
However, with this added concept power system proven by Dante, that being a devil host also increases your innate power, it fits the logic of the fourth Zogratis sibling, with their magic type and also with the additional supply from devil mana that they can remake humanity with citizens that will have no fear nor death. With every Dark Triad member having some form of magic that's connected to the makeup of a human body, and we know that magic is innate and genetics, this means that Lucius has to have a form of magic that completes this process. With body magic, bone magic and blood magic, you have all the ingredients to create a human being. The only thing that is missing is to give it life to complete the creation, to make someone come alive. So that leaves us with only one or two options. Well, obviously something that has to have the completed ability to resurrect the dead, and if that's true, how does this ability have any meaning to how he was able to take over Julius's body? You're confused again. Now this is where we get to the juicy bits of our analysis. From what we saw in the latest chapter 331, Julius was clearly aware that something was going wrong inside of him. An uneasy feeling he first expresses back in chapter 311, where he said it feels like something enormous is about to emerge. At that time, we all thought it was because of Morris speeding up the gates to be open for Lucifero to be summoned. However, in the latest chapter, Julius states that he felt this uneasy feeling even before the ancient demon attack in the Clover Kingdom in chapter 281, which means that Lucius has been inside Julius for a long time in the story, and possibly since the beginning of Black Clover, that Julius and Lucius are two souls within the same body. Jonathan is now going to take over and he's going to talk about how this could even be possible.
Now, the reason why we know that it's 100% certain that they are both separate souls is because of their separate grimoire. When Lucius took over Julius' body, Julius' coverless grimoire switched to a spade grimoire. A lot of people were thinking that this had to be Julius' original grimoire, but that cannot be the case because it's already been confirmed in volume 16 of Julius Star Card that he has a 3-leaf clover grimoire, despite it being coverless. Further evidence for this, Asta, Yuno, Licht, Patri, and Lumiere are the only ones that have a number 5 or 4 on their character's card when everyone else has a 3. This proves that Lucius and Julius are two different souls since grimoires are direct connections to the soul. This is exactly why Patri and William had their own separate grimoires despite the fact that they share the same body but not the same magic type, which is further evidence that Lucius and Julius are not the same but share the same body. The theme of souls within this series is extremely rooted in a lot of concepts within this story. For example, a grimoire being a direct connection to the soul, Zagrid using a reincarnation spell to send the souls of the elves 500 years into the future, Rades having a magic ability being true wraith magic that has a spell called Soul Conductor, which allows him to control the souls of people he bonded with by bringing them back to life or putting their soul into another body, and Megicula needing 3 souls of women to die just to be completely manifested. So Lucius having the magic type of some sort of soul magic is not far-fetched to say, since dealing with souls is a prominent theme in Black Clover. This is why Lucius is so confident in his plans to remake humanity and states that the ones they will destroy will only die temporarily, which means that the souls of all the people they destroyed was protected by Lucius. This can quite possibly mean that characters like Yuno's father, Alan, the Dark Disciples, and many people that died from the Spade Kingdom can all come back to life in undying bodies, similar to how the elves came back to life and took over the bodies of the humans, since we know Tabata loves doing parallels within his series. All of Lucius' siblings having the magic ability, if combined, can create a being. The only missing piece to this is to give it life, which makes sense for Lucius having soul magic. That would explain why Lucius was able to take over Julius' body. Lucius' magic power being soul magic also connects to the demonology lore for Astaroth. In demonology, Astaroth teaches all the science and is the keeper of the secrets of the past, present, and future. He is invoked in necromantic rituals of divination. Notice how it states that Astaroth is invoked in necromantic rituals, invoked meaning he supports necromancy. And from what we know from necromancy, it's a practice rooted from real-life black magic to communicate with the dead, raising the dead back to life by summoning them by apparition. The word apparition means the soul or spirit of a dead person or animal. So Lucius having soul magic in his plans to remake humanity, and Astaroth in full support of necromantic rituals and demonology, all goes hand in hand with the references in Black Clover that Tabata is implying here. Taking a look at Lucius' grimoire, he has a upside down spade. A spade that is upwards means death. However, a spade that is upside down means rebirth, renewal, resurrection, and lastly, regeneration. A word that Lucius used to describe how he would bring back the dead. And if we took a look at the markings on his forehead, we also get more evidence towards his ideology. After all, we know how Julius' rune was important, so Lucius most definitely will too. And so myself, Adol, and Harrison, we went out and did the research for you guys and discovered quite crazy possibilities behind its inspiration. And they all seem to have one thing in common: overcoming death. From what we see from Lucius' tattoo, we know that this is a form of sunburst marking. And based upon the research, there was one particular meaning that stood out to me. When you type in crown with sunburst, it means victory over death. A direct connection to Lucius' ideology and also his grimoire meaning. The upside down spade, like I told you guys before, means regeneration, and the spade that is upwards means death. Lucius already stated that the spade's citizens will only die temporarily. So Lucius' grimoire symbols with the upside down spade and the one that is upwards is a metaphor to overcome death, which is why the meaning of the sunburst crown, meaning victory over death, has so much significance to Lucius' ideology and his entire grand plan. Which, if you were to go even further to the meaning of this crown of sunburst symbol, it's also a pagan symbol which means life everlasting, which connects back to the speech of Lucius' plan in chapter 310, which we saw in Xenon's flashback, that he mentioned that since the spade citizens will only die temporarily, they will also be brought back with the fourth Zogratis siblings with the added help of the devil's power, with fortunate citizens that will have no fear of death, a truly peaceful kingdom, which all connects back to undying bodies. But of course, this isn't the only coincidence. This is just one of many which you will see throughout the video. Because after we're done, I'm pretty sure that your mind is going to be blown from here.
Another interpretation of the marking on his head could be chaos. Chaos from the Greek stories. Look at the similar designs. Chaos was the very first, the origin of all, the empty, the unfathomable space at the beginning of time. According to most Greek cosmologies, chaos was the universe's basic feature, a murky domain of mass and energy from which much of what is powerful and generally evil and dark in the world would emerge in later times. This continues to fit in with the three king of hells, by the way, in Black Clover. Remember, the three kings are time, space, and gravity. Just like how the dark triad's innate magic abilities can be linked to the creation of life, so can the three kings of hell. Many believe that chaos was there in the beginning, the dark majesty and mystery of creation personified. It's also stated that the bleak midway area between Earth and Tartarus, where the Titans are imprisoned, is known to be chaos. In Greek mythology, Tartarus represents the abysmal realms. The name was originally given to the world's darkest section, the lower of two divisions of the underworld, where the gods imprisoned their enemies, but developed to mean the entire underworld over time. Knowing that chaos is the area between both Tartarus, aka the underworld, and Earth, it may also help explain how Astaroth was able to magically vanish from hell, as this chaos seal may play a role in housing his soul in a similar place to the Shadow Palace, which this forehead marking also just happens to vaguely resemble. At the end of the day, we know Tabata has used Greek mythology in his story. For example, all of the elemental spirits like Udine, the wind spirit, the salamander, and much more. And then there's Yuno's entire arsenal of attacks with his star magic. That all derives from Greek culture too. And so by knowing that this chaos was the beginning of time and creation personified, it fits of course into Astaroth's time magic, as well as creating a whole new world with undying bodies. Furthermore, if we look at this panel from chapter 310, Lucius says to Zenon how he is the one sibling most like himself, and that he has a greater aptitude of becoming a devil host than his other siblings. We see this to be true in the story, as Zenon was the last one to receive the devil Beelzebub, yet became the most adept at using it. Dante mentioned before the time skip that Zenon only received his devil recently, yet he's adapted to its devil's power quite fast, and he wiped out the whole Diamond Kingdom with him. He later assimilated with Beelzebub at 100% and even was able to sell his soul to him. And we know this is difficult because when Asta attempted to do so with Liber, Liber said he was too weak and he couldn't offer him more power besides the arm. We can use this information to explain how Astaroth vanished from hell, as Lucius would have the most natural talent for devil hosting according to his own dialogue. Lucius would have become 100% assimilated with Astaroth, similar to Asta and Liber in their devil union. This means Lucius contacted the devil using his soul magic or casted a forbidden spell that would make this possible. For example, if we take a look at chapter 222, Dorothy stated how unless there is some sort of anomaly, devils should not be able to appear in the human world. However, through the use of forbidden magic, contracts can be made by paying a price to use a devil's power at a limited level, and that right now, devil shadows are crawling all throughout their world. We can tell that Lucius paid a hefty price to make his contract with Astaroth, as we can see in the flashback of chapter 306 that not only was he in a wheelchair, suggesting he gave up his ability to walk, but he was also constantly coughing, meaning the prices he paid made him ill, about to die. That's why he wants immortality, never to wanting to die again because he fears it. As a result, when we take a look at Nach's way of contacting a devil, he stated it's via a totem that is linked to that said devil, where a forbidden spell called Ritual of the Servant is casted, forcing a combat with the devil's shadowy soul. That's how Lucifuge came out and killed everyone. So this means Dorothy's information is correct, because the Ritual of the Servant does make it limited due to the way how everyone makes their contracts with the devil, unless you're the main protagonist of a shonen once again and you're Asta and you make it 50-50 with his brother Liber. On top of that, we can't forget that if a devil is stuck in hell, then you have to open the gate of Cliffoff to make use of 100% of their power. That's how the Dark Triad achieved 100%. But since Astaroth has been revealed in chapter 331 to be completely disappeared from hell, similar to Liber, it means his body is in the overworld. He is no longer in hell, resulting in Lucius accessing full 100% and possibly assimilation with Astaroth, therefore allowing him complete control of time magic. And that is why Julius was also able to use it so freely without anyone realizing. Now this next theory links in wonderfully with the soul magic analysis we and Jonathan have mentioned together. We know that Lucius aims to bring about world peace by reviving humanity in undying bodies, thus making them all equal. But what if Julius was an example of an undying body all along? For one, we know nothing regarding Julius's family. Now I'm not saying that we have to know for the story to be good. After all, there's plenty of noble families we know little about, but this dude is the literal wizard king and there's nothing. Oh, and we can't forget he even defied death through a rune on his head. We also see in chapter 331 that Julius is literally just Lucius with black hair and a different forehead marking. That's the whole reason his face was covered in Xenon's backstory, because the plot twist wouldn't have worked. Plus the fact that their names are almost identical and they match each other's philosophies in a different way. If Lucius helped create Julius, then Novachrono is heavily linked to his plan and the magic that he gave him to use. The surname Novachrono is made up of two separate meanings. Nova meaning new in Latin and chrono meaning time in Greek. A perfect name for someone who can control, steal and manipulate time. Like we mentioned, Lucius was showing signs of illness. This is likely the reason he aimed to revive humanity equally, as he felt he was wronged in life, paralleling Astaroth's story in demonology. I read those devil books, man, you know me, like that shit's kinda scary, but it is stated that Astaroth will tell the full truth of the story of his fall, though he will often make it a point to demonstrate why he is being unjustly judged and punished. It could be that Julius is one of Lucius's undying bodies and he used it to house his own soul so that he could walk once again and begin his plan to bring about equality. Now you're probably wondering again, oh my god ABD, okay, you brought up another point, equality, but how will he bring about the equality, ABD? Tell me. Well, if you have the notification bell on and watch our previous video regarding all the signs and clues of Lucius being in the story of Black Clover, you would know he has taken a major interest in Asta's anti-magic. Asta's anti-magic has been constantly highlighted as the strongest power in the series. Nacht made him the ultimate warrior that could defeat Lucifero, someone higher ranked than Astaroth himself. The Witch Queen stated that if Asta uses anti-magic properly, then all magic in front of him is meaningless. Nothing will be able to stop it and it's useless. If Andremelech is following orders from Lucius and Astaroth, they must have a reason why they didn't order Andremelech to kill Asta when he had the chance. They instead told him to only take Lucifero's heart. If their plan for Asta was complete at that point, they would have disposed of the evidence and the boy that was so powerful, but instead they let him survive for a future plan. Upon Julius's death, he states how he wants to build a world with Asta. Lucius and Julius's ideologies are both very similar, and knowing how Tabata loves the use of dualities all throughout his story, we can presume Lucius definitely needs Asta for the plan of equality, as Asta once said to Raya that he also wants to build a kingdom as Wizard King that treats everyone fairly, where classism and racism would end through destroying the corruption within the kingdom, as well as being the face of someone that cares for everyone rather than only his self-interest. This will then cause a clash of ideologies between the protagonist and Lucius on their idea of what a Wizard King is and what a leader should be, which ties in perfectly to the idea of the final arc, which was told to us in chapter 331, the battle of the strongest Wizard King. So there you go, we just answered all the questions regarding Lucius, of how he took over Julius's body, what he plans to do with Lucifero's heart, and how did Astaroth leave hell. If you want to know every foreshadowing and clue that Lucius was in the story since chapter 1, then go watch this video right now. It's being displayed to you. Go watch it, guys. You won't regret it. You need this information to understand one of the greatest plot twists in modern shonen.